Hey guys, welcome to my Road to 120 Slayer movie. This is essentially the highlights of my Road to 120 Slayer journey, all condensed into one video. I really hope you guys do enjoy. So looking at our stats right now, I'm at 107 Slayers, so only 13 levels to go. However, that is a lot of experience. We're going to need a little bit over 70 million more experience to get to 120 Slayer. So it is going to be a really long grind, but hopefully we're able to make a lot of money from this series, and I'm anticipating we definitely will. So for our very first Slayer task, we are going to have to kill 145 Ascension creatures. So my strategy for Ascension creatures, I'm going to be using the aggression potions and going to be killing the rare Ascension creatures just to make this task go by a little bit faster. We're going to look for the Ascension keystones, and hopefully we'll be able to make a bit of money off of those. And so we are about 50 kills in, and we got our first keystone. We got the Quartus keystone. I believe it's worth approximately 200k, so hopefully we're able to get another one before the end of this task. And that's it. We have killed our final Ascension creature. We were unable to get another keystone, but we're just going to go over to the Grand Exchange and check our loot. So as you can see, we made around 450k. Not that great for our first task, but the good part about this is that it was an extremely fast task. Probably took under 10 minutes to complete, so not bad at all. And so this next task, we were able to receive 78 Vileblooms, probably our best task yet. I decided to kill the Luminous snagglers, which require 95 Slayer, and surprisingly these are actually really good money and XP. So for every kill you're getting about 1500 Slayer XP, and their drops are actually really great. So looking at just their drop table, you can see that they have a lot of really expensive drops. And it's so good, it looks like it averages out to around 30, maybe even 40k. So I really am thinking that these creatures will be able to make me quite a bit of money as well as quite a bit of XP. And looking at the loot breakdown from the 78 kills, we have around 2.6 mil. And so here is our loot tab from the first episode. We have made 9.5 mil in total loot and also obtained around 667,000 Slayer XP. So the first task for this episode, we got a dinosaur task, and this is actually the first one of the series. Previously I noticed that dinosaurs weren't actually that great for GP and stuff like that, but I was pleased to get a dinosaur task. I haven't killed too many of them, so hopefully we're able to get one of these really rare drops. And so I decided to go ahead and kill the Brutish dinosaurs because they give 3,100 Slayer XP per kill, which I just think is insane. I did notice that the drops might be a little bit worse than the other ones, but we're in this for the XP, so that is what we're going to be doing. And also the nice thing about these kind of tasks, they do have safe spots. So as you can see, I am in a safe spot right here. And so quickly looking at the possible drops, as you can see, they are fairly decent. They do always drop dinosaur bones, which is a solid 78k drop. As for the other common and uncommons, they're really not too special, although they do have their own unique drop table as well, which is where it does get exciting. The blowpipe, those are all 1 in 2,000 on task, and then the laceration boots are 1 in 1,500 on task. And so halfway through the task, we did manage to get the laceration boots. I really wish I had this clip live because I was so surprised at getting these. I was only casually killing them while I was multitasking and doing something else, and I just looked down and there's laceration boots on the ground. I was so excited for this drop, and it is our first unique drop of the series. We managed to get the 1 in 1,500 laceration boots drop. Looking at the price check, they are worth around 9 mil. And so now looking at the total loot we obtained, as you can see, around 10.7 mil. We also obtained the dinosaur rib bone, which is really interesting. This is actually a 1 in 1,000 drop rate, so that was another really lucky drop from this task. I feel like I got extremely lucky from this task, guys. We also got 220,000 Slayer XP along with that 10.7 mil. Definitely our best task in this series so far. We're going to be looking to get some more dinosaur tasks. And so next we got a Creatures of Daemonheim task. I decided to kill 131 Frost Dragons to complete this task because I figured it was going to be much faster than my alternatives. We're just going to jump to the loot. And so we made around 1.5 mil off of the Frost Dragons. Also got around 50k Slayer XP for completing this task. So definitely not too bad. Nice quick one to get out of the way. And the next task we got is 157 Mustbuzz. And if you guys didn't already know, you should be using Ancient Magics to kill the Mustbuzz. It does give a 50% damage boost. So that is what I am doing here. The only downside about that is you cannot use your High Elk spell. So I am using the Spring Cleaner instead of that. And so now looking at the overall loot, we made around 1.7 mil, which is not too bad for just a 20-minute task. Also got around 73,000 Slayer XP. We did actually manage to get Lava Strike Worms for our very next task. So that is what we are going to be killing next. They are an excellent source of money, which is what I always like about them. And so I have finished my first run of killing Lava Strike Worms. We killed around 15 for this run. And as you can see, we made around 900k. This is really, really good because it probably took only around 5 minutes to actually get this amount of loot. Now, the only downside about Lava Strike Worms is that they are in the wilderness and you can sometimes find some PKers. So that is definitely one of the most dangerous parts about this, but the drops are really, really good. So they do drop the Searing Ashes, and this is a drop they'll drop every time, and it is worth around 40k. So you're getting at least 40k GP off every drop. And that is what makes the Lava Strike Worms so consistent for making money. And so as for the total loot from this task, we made just over 7 mil. And we also got around 190,000 Slayer XP as well. So this was definitely one of the better tasks. And the nice thing about this is that this is very consistent. You will probably expect around 7 mil for every Lava Strike Worm task you do have. And so next we got another Abyssal Demon task. Nearly 300 this time, so definitely a longer one. Although we are just going to AFK it with the aggression potions again, just like we did in the first episode. And so the overall loot that we did manage to get from this task, we got right around 1.4 mil and also around 80,000 Slayer XP. So not too bad. Most of the drops was in the alkables like usual, so a pretty common Abyssal Demon task. Here is a look at the updated loot tab for this series, and it is looking pretty nice so far, especially with those laceration boots in there, looking really, really nice. And as for the episode, we made around 22.3 mil and around 480,000 Slayer XP. And in total now, we have made right around 32 mil cash, and we've gotten around 1.1 mil Slayer XP. And again, I decided to kill the Bulbous crawlers. I find these are the easiest to kill, and they also give 2,360 XP per kill, which is really, really great. And then also they do have some pretty great drops as well, some nice unique drops, and of course the chance at getting the Cinderbane gloves. Anyway guys, we did finish our first task in about an hour. Looking at the loot that we did get, it wasn't too spectacular. We made around 1.6 mil and also got around 250,000 Slayer XP. Anyway, the next task we actually got the exact same task, 107 Lost Grove creatures again. So I am pretty excited about this. We do get a lot of XP, and that is the main goal of this series. So I'm always happy with the Lost Grove creature task. And so guys, we actually did manage to get a Cinderbane gloves drop. This was actually so crazy because I was attacking one of these Bulbous crawlers as soon as my game froze and it pretty much just crashed. I logged back on just to see some Cinderbane gloves lying there on the ground. Just imagine if I couldn't log back in or they even disappeared. So anyway, I am just really fortunate that I was actually able to get the drop. What a crazy way to get the Cinderbane gloves though. They're 35 mil worth drop. So these are definitely the best drop I have obtained so far in this series. And we got another unique. That's back-to-back videos with a unique drop. So looking at the overall loot from this, so we made around 2.1 mil without the gloves, and then of course the 37.5 mil with the gloves in there. And we also got the same amount of experience, 252,000. So already 500,000 experience, 2 tasks into this episode, and we've even made just about 40 mil already. And so anyway, moving on to our next task, we got a 123 lava strikeworm task. And so anyway, this task took around 1 hour to complete. I didn't actually see any PKers, so I was pretty lucky with that. And overall, it was a really nice task. Looking at the loot we made from this task, we got nearly 10 mil, 9.6 mil, and also 230,000 Slayer XP. So a nice chunk of Slayer XP along with that great loot. We also got a Revenant drop enhancer, which was a pretty nice, unique drop to get. As you can see, I also have some adrenaline crystals, which we obtained from the Wilderness rare drop table. So that was a nice 1.4 mil drop that I did receive. And of course, most of the money did come from the Searing Ashes, as always. So here's our total loot tab. As you can see on the episode, we made 52.6 mil. And also 1.1 mil Slayer XP. And this really did put a chunk into the total. So we're now up to 84 mil total GP for the series. And around 2.3 mil Slayer XP for the series. We got our first Reaper task of the series. We ended up getting 7 Vindicta. Looking at the loot we did obtain, we did actually get some pretty good loot. So as you can see, we made around 1.2 mil just from the 7 kills. Moving on to our next Slayer task, we got one of my favorites. We got 105 Vileblooms. This is probably my favorite task right now. You make a lot of money off them, and I kind of do enjoy killing them. So I normally kill the Luminous snagglers. I think these are the best to kill. They do require level 95 Slayer to kill, so they're the second lowest of the Vileblooms. And you get around 1.5k Slayer XP, but I just find the drops that you get from these are just amazing. I would say you average around 50k per kill, so that is really great, and that is the main reason why I choose to do them. So looking at the loot we did obtain from the 105 kills, we got over 5 mil, so this was really great. Probably one of my best and most profitable Vileplume tasks yet. And so time to pick up my next task. We actually did end up with a dinosaur task, so we got 88 dinosaurs. But I am going to decide to add these to my prefer list, mostly because the Brutish dinosaurs are such great XP. And so looking at my option of each of the 4 dinosaurs, you can see that the Brutish dinosaurs give you an enormous amount of XP compared to all the others. They give you 3,100 XP per kill. And on double XP weekend, this is over 6,000 per kill. So you can imagine we're going to get a lot of XP from this task. So looking at the loot, we made around 3.5 mil. And we also got a whopping 545,000 Slayer XP from this task, which is just incredible. Next, we got a corrupted creature task. We're going to be killing 217 of these. And I went with the corrupted workers because they are the best corrupted creature that you can kill in terms of XP. Anyway, looking at the loot we obtained, we actually got really lucky on this task. We got 4 Key to the Crossings, so that is a really nice boost for this task. For just the common drops that we have in our chest, we got around 1.8 mil. So overall, nearly 3 mil from this task. The XP was pretty good as well, at around 283,000 Slayer XP. Now that is it for this episode. We did get a lot of Slayer XP in this one, so we got around 1.75 million Slayer XP in this episode, and that puts us at over 5 million Slayer XP for the series. In terms of the GP, we made around 14.7 mil, so still didn't get a really good unique drop to really boost that. But we did make it over 100 mil for the series, so that is a pretty nice boost. So jumping right into it, we have our first Reaper task of the episode, and it is 5 Nex kills. So Nex is actually one of my favorite bosses, although I am not actually an expert at soloing it. At least I have duoed it a lot. And that is what I'm doing here. So thanks to KJ, he helped me out to do these 5 next kills. We also went a little bit over just to try and make a little bit more money. But yeah, honestly, next is just a lot of fun. You have a really great drop chance of getting a unique. I believe it's 1 in 21. So that pretty much just makes this boss really exciting to kill, having that really high drop chance of getting unique. And guess what? We ended up getting one here. Yes, we got it. We got the Virtus book drop. There's the first unique drop for the Reaper Task edition of this series. That is pretty awesome. Gonna add that to the loot tab. And so here's a breakdown of the loot we got from our next kills. I believe we actually ended up getting around 8 or 9 kills. I don't think we went for the full hour. But anyway, we made around a 4.5 mil split. I'm not sure if the Virtus book actually sells for the listed 3.1 mil. But nonetheless, it is a pretty nice drop. Always glad to have a unique drop at next. So now let's jump into our first Slayer task of the episode. We got the Vileplume option. I think I'm going to go with that one. I just really love killing the Vileplumes. They give you a ton of XP and also a ton of money as well. And also Vileplumes have the chance of dropping the Blast Fusion boots, which is a drop that I really am striving for. I got the Laceration boots from the Dinosaurs, I believe in episode 2 of this series. So if I could get these boots, that would be just perfect to add that 81 mil price tag to my loot tab. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the Blast Fusion boots this task. Hopefully, next Vileplume task we do manage to. But we did make some pretty consistent money anyway, like we always do at Luminous Snagglers. We made around 4 mil. Also got around 267,000 Slayer XP. Of course, this is on double XP weekend, so that is a doubled number, just so you guys know. Overall, a really great task. Always love having Vileplume tasks. So we're going to go with the Bulbous crawlers this time. Last time I did this task, I went with the moss golems. I found they were a little bit more difficult to kill, and I didn't find the drops were as good. So I'm probably going to be doing the Bulbous crawlers from now on. I think their mechanics are a little bit easier to dodge and whatnot, so I probably will be doing them. And of course, the loot from the Bulbous crawlers are always really great. And so looking at the loot from this task, not too great. We made around 2.25 mil. The XP from this task, always really great, especially with double XP. We got around 486,000 Slayer XP. And moving on to our next task, we are going to get my favorite task so far. We got 109 dinosaurs. So this is going to be a lot to kill. And of course, this is on double XP, so I'm going to be going with the Brutish dinosaurs. We're also going to be using the Festive Aura to give us the 50% XP boost for 30 minutes. So we're going to try and kill as many of these as we can in the first 30 minutes. Of course, Brutish dinosaurs, they give a ton of XP. They give 3,100 XP per kill. And it's going to be doubled with 50% boost on top of that. So we're going to be getting a lot of XP from this task. Anyway, after completing our 109 dinosaurs, we managed to get around 685,000 Slayer XP. So this is with the double XP and also with the Festive Aura active. We also got around 3.7 mil, which is actually really great compared to the other tasks we have done today. So personally, I think dinosaurs are a really great creature to kill. They have actually buffed their drop table by adding some new seeds that were added with the 120 herb lore and 120 farming update. We got a dragons task, so that was pretty great. We're going to be killing 146 dragons. I decided to do some QBD. I'm definitely not going to go through 146 QBD kills, but I did decide to do at least half of it with QBD kills. I really want to up our cash stack in our loot tab, so I think QBD will be able to do that. And so actually just a few kills in, we managed to get our first rare drop of the episode. We got a Dragonic visage, which has about a 1 in 100 drop rate, so that was pretty lucky. It's worth over 1 mil, and that was actually my first Dragonic visage at QBD. I've killed over 500 of these, and that was my first one, so hopefully we'll be able to complete the collection log for QBD pretty soon. I need the pet and also the dragon kite shield. And so anyway, just about 20 kills later, we managed to get our second Dragonic visage, so we're getting pretty lucky for this task. Another 1 mil drop, definitely nice to add to the loot tab. And so we finished off killing 78 Queen Black Dragon. We made about 14.7 mil, also 132,000 Slayer XP. So not really much Slayer XP, but this task was mostly for the money. And we sure did make a lot, nearly 15 mil just off one task. That is pretty great. And so next we picked up a Calgarian demon task. We're going to be killing 67 of these. And this is also my first time killing Calgarian demons, maybe ever on a Slayer task. So that is pretty interesting. I do like them. They have some interesting drops. They do take quite a while to kill sometimes, so that is something not too great about them, but they don't hit very hard. If you have a pack yak full of food, you should be perfectly fine to stay here for your entire task. They also have a lot of stuff on their drop table, including a rare drop chance of getting the Demon Slayer equipment. All that is pretty bad in terms of GP, but the Demon Slayer gloves are actually worth nearly 2 mil. They also have a 1 in 256 of dropping an uncut onyx, which is worth 1.3 mil, so they do have a few rare drop chances. And speaking of rare drop chances, we managed to get the uncut onyx, so that is 1.3 mil, really lucky getting that. I did not expect that at all. So that is another rare drop in this episode. We got the Dragonic visages earlier, and now we got an uncut onyx. Not really worth too much, just over 1 mil for all those uniques. But anyway, looking at the total loot from this task, we made around 2.4 mil. Also got around 124,000 Slayer XP. This task probably was a bit longer, was probably close to an hour to complete. And that is because they do take quite a while to kill. Maybe I should have been using magic instead of melee, but anyway, it was all right. We made around 2.4 mil and got some pretty decent Slayer XP as well. And so now we're going to be completing a Nihil task. So this is another first for the series, first Nihil task. And you don't even need that much food. They don't hit hard at all. So it was a pretty good task overall. And so after completing the Slayer task, it took around probably 40 minutes to complete. We made around 1.2 mil and also just 43,000 Slayer XP. As you can see, we also got 11 Avalanche Talons, 1 Icy Feather, and 1 Demon Horn. So I will be making this into the Nihil pouches, which will boost my GP by a lot. And that really is why this is such a good moneymaker. You can make the Nihil pouches, which boost your profit by a lot. It does require 87 summoning to actually make them, so that is one requirement with it. As you can see, the Smoked Nihil pouch is about 100k each, and then the other two are around 118k each. I probably should have transmuted the Avalanche Talons into the Ice and Feathers to make more Ice Nihil pouches, but didn't do that. So that is something you should probably do if you are looking at doing this right now for a money-making method. And so now we're going to be doing a Reaper task. Gotta fit this in the video. We are going to be getting the Twin Furies, so that's what we're going to be killing for this Reaper task. They are really easy to kill, especially with a two-hand weapon, so I have no problem killing these. Probably the easiest God Wars Dungeon 2 boss, in my opinion. But the drops really aren't that great. Even their unique drops aren't that great anymore. Their Crest of Zamorak is probably their best drop at about 11 mil. And then their two blades, they're only worth around 1.2 mil. So that is pretty much it for this boss. They are usually pretty decent money, around 2 to 3 mil per hour. But usually you don't get a ton of GP from them compared to a boss like Vindicta. And so after killing 7 of these Twin Furies, we only made 330k. So that is pretty awful, averaging about 50k per drop. And so the next task we managed to get was 79 Vileblooms, probably my favorite task so far, although we still have not managed to get the Blast Diffusion boots. That is one item that I really want to get before this series is over. Mostly because it is worth 80 mil, and I already got the Laceration boots, so having the Blast Diffusion boots would really go well with them. And there it is, 110 Slayer. We only have 10 levels left to go. I feel like we're getting much closer, although there still is about 60 million XP left. Anyway, after completing this Vileplume task, we made around 2.75 million, and also made around 121,000 Slayer XP. So we did get 232 of these. I have decided to switch it up, so I usually kill the Feline Axe, although I wanted to make this another AFK Slayer task, so I decided to go with the Salawa Axe, mostly because they do not have a mechanic to them, so that makes it much easier to kill. Anyway, looking at the loot, we got extremely lucky. We got 5 keys to the crossing, and also made around 1.15 mil from this. In the treasure chest, we also got around 1.9 mil to complete the 3 mil task. Got 117,000 Slayer XP as well, so that is a nice addition for the series. We bumped up the total loot tab to up to 169 million, so that is a lot of money, and hopefully we do even manage to get it up to 1 billion by the time this series is done. And so moving on to our next task, we got Celestial Dragons. This is actually a really good task that I haven't been doing much, so I'm pretty glad that I got it. Celestial Dragons are a really good source of XP, so that is the main reason why I like getting this task. So halfway through the task, I ended up getting a Dragonic visage. This is pretty crazy. Probably only the second Dragonic visage I received from a normal dragon. As you guys probably remember, just last episode I believe, I got 2 of them from QBD, so this is the 3rd one in the loot tab. Really interesting, since I've probably only had 1 Dragonic visage before this. And so looking at the loot we obtained from this task, it's pretty good, around 2.2 mil, most of the money coming from that visage drop. We also got 171,000 Slayer XP, so that is very good as well. And so next I got the option between elves and dinosaurs. We haven't had a dinosaur task in a while, so I decided to use the Slayer token and go with that task. And again, I chose to kill the Brutish dinosaurs over all of the others, mostly because their XP is probably the best out of any Slayer creature. They give 3100 XP per kill, which is pretty insane, and also you can AFK them as well, which is something I really like. They have the safe spot right here, so it is a pretty chill task, and you get a lot of XP. They also have some pretty good drops as well. They always drop their dinosaur bones, which are worth around 10k each now, and they have some interesting, unique, and rare drop possibilities that could really make this task exciting. And so anyway, after completing this really long task, we got around 310,000 Slayer XP and also around 3.2 mil. So this task most likely took around 2 hours to complete, although it was really AFK. And still, I think taking 2 hours to get to around 310,000 Slayer XP is still pretty great. As for the drops, we got some pretty interesting ones. We got the Brutish Dinosaur Unchecked egg for the Ranch of Time, so that was a really rare drop, 1 in 750 drop chance. It does say it's only worth 1k, however, so hopefully it is worth more than that, but we're just going to leave it at that for the series. And so far in this series, we have made a lot of progress. We started the series off at 107 Slayer, and we are only 450,000 XP away from 111. We also got around 62 million XP left to get to 120, so there is quite a ways to go. So starting off with the first task of the video, we got 71 dinosaurs. And so jumping into the loot we got from this task, around 2.5 mil, and we also got 242,000 Slayer XP. And our next task, we get 69 Nihils. Now I have been getting Nihils quite frequently lately, so I'm not too mad about this. I actually do really like Nihils, and they are really great GP per hour, especially when you do make the Nihil pouches. So that is what I am going to be doing. If you guys don't already know, you should focus your efforts on the smoke Nihils as opposed to the other ones. This is because their mechanic is a lot easier to avoid. You just need to drink an overload, and this will basically just bypass their mechanic. They won't be able to lower your stats, and this will pretty much just make it really easy to kill. And the main drop you're going to want to be picking up is the Avalanche Talons. We did get a lot of these for this task. As you can see in my Beast of Burden already, we have around 13 of them, so that is pretty good. Moving on to the total loot from this task, we made around 800k just in the common loot.
We also got around 43,000 Slayer XP, so not too much compared to other Slayer creatures, but you do make a lot of money from Nihils, and this task only took around 20 minutes to complete. And so most of the money does come from the Nihil pouches. As you can see, I have the Avianchi talons, which are made for the smoke Nihil pouches, although the blood Nihil pouches seem to be the most profitable at this time of recording. So I am going to be transmuting them all into the vampire fangs, and this only costs 10 elder energy to do, so it is definitely worth doing. And I will be able to make the blood Nihil pouches instead of the smoke Nihil pouches, giving me an extra 20k profit per pouch. And so here we go. We have made all of the blood Nihil pouches, a total of 13 of them. And looking at the loot, we have obtained around 1.7 mil just from the Nihil pouches. So this added on to the 700k gives us around 2.4 mil for this task. So definitely really great. And so if you guys can remember from episode 9, we did obtain a Brutish dinosaur egg from our task. I did receive a few comments on the last video saying I should sell it. So I did in fact do that. It was listed at 1.5k. So I figured I'd sell it for 1 mil, and it sold for 10.5 mil. So this is much more than I was expecting. I'm really glad I did end up selling it. So that is going to be added to the loot for this video. Anyway, next I decided to pick up a Reaper task. We ended up getting Araxi, which is by far my favorite boss. So I was really happy with this task. And we got 4 of them. So I haven't killed Araxi in quite some time, but it didn't really take too long to figure it out again. I have killed over 400 of them, so I am pretty good at killing Araxi by now. It would be really cool to get some leg pieces and hopefully even finish out a leg on my road to 120 Slayer. I think that would be incredible and really boost the profit for this series. So hopefully we do manage to get some unique drops and get some more Araxi Reapers, because this is by far my favorite. So the loot from the first kill, we did get a really good drop, 2.2 mil. We got the Onyx Bolt drop, so that is always a really great drop to have at Araxi. For our second drop, we didn't get anything too special. We got the Rune Salvage drop, only 400k, but still not too bad. And for the third drop, around 338k, we got the really bad drop in the 10 seeds. And then for the last drop, another 1.2 mil. We got 8 magic seeds in this drop. So definitely a really good trip at Araxi. Got 4 of them killed, took around 40 minutes, and we made around 4 mil. Anyway, now jumping back into some more Slayer tasks, we got a Creature of the Lost Grove task. So definitely another really great task, one that I really do enjoy doing, and you do get a lot of XP from these tasks. And so just a few kills in, we managed to level up our Slayer level once again. We are at 111 Slayer now, so we are well on our way to 120 Slayer. And so looking at the loot from this task, no uniques, we made around 1.6 mil, and also 267,000 Slayer XP, so that is the best thing about this task, is the Slayer XP. The loot we obtained is pretty average, and this took around 1 hour to complete, so definitely isn't very good in terms of loot, but the XP is pretty nice. Anyway, moving on to our next task, we got 152 Eretz. Eretz definitely aren't my favorite Slayer task. I don't really mind them, but I really do find them to be a lot worse than other Slayer creatures, especially the newer ones like the Lost Grove creatures and Dinosaurs and Vileblooms. Just their XP per hour I find are much lower, and then their drops aren't even as good. Anyway, looking at the loot from this task, we actually did get some pretty good loot, around 3.1 mil. Most of this came from the Serenic scale, so that was a little bit of a lucky 2 drops. We got 2 of them, and usually you don't get any, so that was really nice. The XP, 133,000, so overall it was a pretty solid task. Took around 1 hour to complete. And picking up our next Slayer task, we got another Nihil task. So again, I am pretty happy about this. Nihils are really great money, and I love just boosting up my Slayer tab. So again, I'm using the same strat as before, only killing the smoke Nihils with the overloads active. Pretty basic and definitely really effective. I also ended up transmuting all of my Avianchi talons into the demon horns this time, since they actually were the most expensive. and they are currently selling for around 138k each. And so looking at our total loot from this task, we made around 2.1 mil, most of the money coming from the Nihil pouches again. Looking at the loot tab, it's looking really, really nice. It's worth over 210 mil right now, so that is really crazy. So we are going to start off today's episode with my Reaper task. We got 4 Araxi, so this is by far my favorite Reaper task to get, so I am really happy about it. We have the option between Minion and Darkness Path. I like going Minion Path every time just because I like having the minions early into the fight rather than later. So that is why I chose to do the Minion Path. I did this for all 4 kills. It is a little bit too bad because my favorite path is definitely the middle path with the Darkness Path open as well, but we weren't that lucky to get it this time, so we are going to be going Minion Path. So hopefully we end up getting a unique drop. Leg piece would be great, because I would really like to complete one of these over the course of the series. So on our first kill, we made around 424k. It went pretty well, it was a pretty decent kill. And like all these kills, we killed them in about around 7 to 8 minutes. And for the second kill, we got 2 mil, so we got an Araxite pheromone drop. So that is pretty nice. It's worth around 1.3 mil. And then we also got the magic seeds. So a nice 2 mil drop, definitely a pretty good one from Araxi. Now moving on to the next drop, we got around 775k, so some more magic seeds. These are always a pretty decent drop at Araxi. And for our fourth and final kill, we made around 320k, and we also got the 20k Slayer XP for completing the Reaper task. So moving on to my next Slayer task, we got 171 Celestial Dragons. This is a really good task that I want to be doing in the future as well because you get around 1000 XP per kill, and they also have some good drops. So just a few kills into this task, we ended up getting another Dragonic visage. This is our 4th one of the series. Really insane. It's actually my second one from the Celestial Dragons. The other 2 I got from QBD. So we're going mad. We're getting a lot of these Dragonic visages, which is pretty crazy. And so this task took around 40 minutes to complete, and we made around 2.9 mil. Most of the money coming from the visage we got. And then also we got 166,000 Slayer XP. So that is the main reason why I want to be doing this task more, is because you get a lot of Slayer XP. It doesn't take too long to kill them, and it is pretty easy as well. And for our next task, we got one of my favorites. So we got an 80 Viabloom task. I'm going to be killing the Luminous snagglers again because they are such good GP per hour, and the XP is pretty decent as well. So this time I'm going to be using my Noxious Bow with my Animacore of Zamarok setup, and we're also going to be using the Cinderbane gloves, which do add a little bit of extra DPS. I am really hoping to get the Blast Diffusion boots at these creatures, at least at some point. I think I'm at around 1000 KC now, so hopefully we end up getting that unique drop soon. And I think it's still worth around 80 mil, so that would be a really nice addition to the cash stack. And if we don't get it this episode, hopefully next one. But anyway, I'm getting pretty good at this creature. You just have to pay a lot of attention, so it's not AFK at all, which is a little bit of a downside, but the GP per hour does make up for it. And so after completing this task, we didn't get the Blast Diffusion boots, unfortunately, but we did make around 3.3 mil and also 122,000 Slayer XP. And this task probably took around 1 hour to complete, maybe a little bit less. So it was a bit longer than other tasks, but 3.3 mil is pretty decent GP. And so now moving on to my next task, we got a Soul Devourer task, which I really do like. It's really AFK now that I'm using this new method that I started a few episodes ago. And so anyway, the loot from this task was pretty good. We did get the Ushabi completed, so we got the Salawak in that. And this is actually the first one I've gotten. I've completely forgot to capture the souls of the creatures that I've been killing, so I'm going to be doing that from now on. But anyway, for the keys, we actually got 6 of them, so we got really lucky here, made around 1.37 mil from this. And for the chest, we got around 1.1 mil and also 92,000 Slayer XP. And the task was really fast, taking around 15 minutes to complete. And next, we got a pretty long Viabloom task, so I am pretty happy about this. We're going to be looking for the Blast Diffusion boots again, and I am also going to be going at the Luminous snagglers. And so this task took around 1 hour to complete. We made around 5.2 mil,
and also 160,000 Slayer XP. And so we are currently sitting at 111 Slayer. We need 2.7 mil to level up to 112. And also we are a little bit under 60 mil XP away from getting to 120. So we have made quite a bit of progress already in this series. We are now 20% complete, so that is not too bad. We're getting there. And overall, I am having a lot of fun doing this series. I just love doing Slayer tasks, my favorite task, so this is a really great series for me. Another thing that I just love about this series is growing my loot tab. So looking at the loot tab, it is just beautiful right now. We have so much stuff in it. So the total loot tab is estimated at 232.15 million GP, and we have made around 11.4 million Slayer XP. To start with the first Reaper task, we got 4 Araxi. So we have been getting a lot of Araxi Reaper tasks, which I really do like. And for the first kill, we ended up getting an Onyx drop. So around 3 mil there, really good drop. Always love getting those Onyx drops. And the second kill of the Reaper task, 477k. We got the cash drop, so not too bad. The next kill, we got 884k, so we got the Ceradomium Bruise, so that added on to the profit, and we also got the coin drop. And we get 547k, so we got the unfortunate Stone Spirit drops, but we did get the Ceradomium Bruise to make up for it a bit. We ended up getting a Crystal Shapeshifters task, so we actually haven't done this in my Road to 120 Slayer series yet. I haven't done any Crystal Shapeshifters whatsoever. I've never even been to the location, which is Tariad. So anyway, they are pretty good creature to kill. They are located in Tariad, as I said, which is located by using the World Gate. They are really easy creatures to kill, and their GP per hour is pretty good, especially if you can get them in a player-owned dungeon. So I am bringing my Ushabis. Hopefully I will be able to capture some souls here and put them in my player-owned dungeon, because I would really like to have a room filled with Crystal Shapeshifters. I think they are some of the fastest XP per hour in the game in terms of Slayer XP, and also the GP per hour is really great as well. I think it can go up to 7 mil per hour. Anyway, after completing the entire task, we ended up getting 1.3 mil. We also got 244 crystals. So I didn't include this into the loot, but that right there should be at least 500k. So that is a nice little bit of cash that I will cash in at the end of this series. So you do have to exchange these crystals for the crystal gear by bringing these to Angoth, which is located in Tardiad. And so next I decided to do another Reaper task. We ended up visiting Death's office a lot in this episode. So this time we got a Queen Black Dragon task. We're going to be killing 9 of them. This is another boss that I don't really mind doing. I have a pretty high kill count. It's above 550, so I do know what I'm doing at QBD, and I like this boss quite a bit. It's pretty consistent money, usually around 3 to 4 mil per hour. And for the first kill, we ended up getting 90k, so nothing too special here. We got a pretty bad seed drop. The second kill, we got 81k, so we got the Serene Spirit drop. Not good there. And then for the third kill, we ended up getting 125k. So still not really that great. Usually it's an average around 200k. So we haven't been doing too well so far. Next drop is 180k. So not bad. It's getting a bit better. And then next we got 110k. So still below the average. And for the next kill, we end up getting 161k. Still a pretty bad drop. Then we got 117k, and then 68k, it's another really bad drop. And for the last kill, we got 105k, so this totals out to around a little bit over 900k for this QBD Reaper, so not too bad. Could have been better for sure. And so our next Slayer task, we are going to be doing 226 corrupted creatures, and I am going to be doing the corrupted workers specifically. So I have figured out a pretty good strategy for corrupted workers. I figured this out a few episodes ago, I believe. So I like using the Vampirism Scrimshaw as well as the Vampirism Aura. Right now it is charging up, so I am not using it. I could refresh it if I need to, but
I actually found that just the Vampirism Scrimshaw was enough to heal me for this task. So basically, I am just using my aggression potions, and it makes this task really AFK, which is what I really like for a lot of Slayer tasks. So it is definitely recommended if you get a Corrupted Creatures task, use this for Corrupted Workers, or even it would work for Corrupted Scorpions if you have a lower Slayer level. And so from this task, we got some really good loot. We actually got 5 Key to the Crossings, which total out to 1.2 mil. So some pretty good loot there. We got really lucky for the Key to the Crossings. And then just for the general loot overall, we ended up making 1.8 mil, and this totals out to a little bit over 3 mil for the Slayer task. And we got around 150,000 Slayer XP, so that is really good as well. Overall, the task took 20 to 30 minutes, so making this much money, around 3 mil, and 150,000 Slayer XP in 20 minutes, it's a really great task. And so next we ended up getting a Lost Grove creature task, 117 of them to be exact, so we haven't had one of these in a while, I believe. I ended up going with the Bulbous Crawlers again. It's kind of just a habit to go to these. I am meaning to go to Moss Golems eventually. I've only done them once, I think, but they are pretty good as well, so I'm probably going to do that sometime. But for this task, Bulbous Crawlers is where we're at. They are pretty easy to kill. They have one mechanic, which isn't too bad. Usually I do have to go bank for food once in between a 100+ kill trip. So I did have to do this for this task, and it maybe took around 40 minutes to complete this task. And so anyway, for the loot from this task, we made around 3 mil, so not too bad there. And the XP from this task was really great as well, at 276,000 Slayer XP, so definitely one of the better Slayer tasks we have had in this episode. And so before I ended this episode, I wanted to do one more Reaper task, so I ended up getting another Araxi task. I actually ended up getting a new personal record at Araxi with 6 minutes and 6 seconds, so that was a pretty fast kill, I think. And for the first kill, we ended up getting 1.1 mil in loot. We got the Onyx Bolt Drop, which is always a nice one. And then for the second kill, we ended up getting 550k. We got the Herb Drop, so another pretty average drop for Araxi. For our third kill, we ended up getting another Onyx Bolt Drop, so this time it was 1.25 mil, so a little bit better. Definitely a really nice drop. And then the last kill, I really struggled getting this last kill. This is where I died 2 or 3 times in a row, just trying to get this last kill and the Reaper task completed, mostly because of lag. But anyway, we ended up completing it. We got 466k, so definitely not really that great. And next we got one of my favorites, 81 Vileplume, so hopefully we end up getting some unique drops. I have been going for the Blast Diffusion boots since the beginning of this series, and I haven't been able to get it yet. I think I'm close to 2,000 Vileplume kills, so I think I'm due. So hopefully we do end up getting that eventually. And anyway, looking at the loot we obtained from this task, around 4.2 mil. And as I said, in 40 minutes, so that makes this creature a really great money-making method. The Slayer XP was also pretty decent. We made 124,000 Slayer XP. And so the next task we managed to get was a Lost Grove creature task. So I ended up going with Moss Golems instead of the Bulbous Crawlers, and that is because I don't really do Moss Golems too much. They also give a little bit more XP per kill. And so as for the loot from this task, we made around 1.7 mil. So that is pretty low. This task did take a while, around 45 minutes to complete. But we did get a lot of Slayer XP, so that is the really good thing about the Moss Golems. We got 255,000 Slayer XP. Moving on to the next task, we got a Strike Worm task, so we have 127 of these to kill. And I decided to go with the Lava Strike Worms. They are one of my favorite Slayer creatures. I kind of like them a little bit less because I found I ran into a lot of PKers this time around. It seemed like the wilderness was extremely active. I think I ran into 6 or 7 PKers during this entire task. So for me, that was quite a lot, and it really got annoying. And so from this task, we made around 6.6 mil. So that is really great. The task took around 1 hour to complete, maybe a little longer because of the amount of times I had to run away from PKers. So
1 hour still isn't that bad for making 6.6 mil, and we also got 237,000 Slayer XP, which is pretty decent as well. We got 160 Celestial Dragons. This is also another really good Slayer task. They do give a lot of Slayer XP, and the drops are usually pretty decent as well. And you would not guess, I actually ended up getting another one of these Dragonic visages. Honestly, I do not know what it is with my luck with these. I've been getting them so frequently. We ended up getting 2 from QBD and now 3 from Celestial Dragons, probably just in the last 5 episodes alone. We also hit another milestone to close out today's episode. We hit 112 Slayer. Anyway, after completing the Celestial Dragon task, we ended up making around 2.6 mil, so that is pretty good. And also we got 156,000 Slayer XP. This episode we gained 21.65 million alone, which puts our total loot tab up to 273 mil. So now we're going to jump into a Reaper task. I got my Reaper and we got a next task, so I do really like this. I went duo with KJ and we managed to do a full hour of next, and I was able to finish my Reaper task in that. I decided to extend it to the full hour just because you may as well, since you pay the instance costs, you may as well just go for the full hour and see what you get. And there you see, we got our task completed. As for the loot we made from this task, it's around 5.7 mil. So it was a pretty good hour at next. Definitely pretty solid. We didn't end up getting any uniques, so 5.7 mil is pretty good for no unique drops. And so now we're going to be doing our second Reaper task. We ended up getting 5 Twin Furies. So this is a pretty easy Reaper. I solo it really easily, barely without using any food. So it did go pretty well. I like going with the scythe and using a lot of my AoE abilities. That I find is the best way to do Twin Furies. I didn't stay for the full hour. I did my 5 kills and then a few extra, so I probably was here for about half an hour. And as you can see, this is actually our 50th Reaper assignment completed, so we did get 50 extra Reaper points. So that is going to be really nice, and I am going to be figuring out what to buy at the Reaper shop pretty soon. Now, our next task, we got a dinosaur task, and this is a really good one. Gotta love doing dinosaurs just because you get so much XP from them. We're going to be going with the Brutish dinosaurs and also using the more AFK method by using the safe spot. I really do like using the safe spot. Anyway, the loot we got from the Brutish dinosaurs, we made around 3.4 mil. And this task took around 1 hour to complete. We also got 241,000 Slayer XP, so that was really great as well. And so next we got an Akron mammoths task. We're going to be killing 31 of them. This is usually a pretty good task as well. It doesn't take very long, and you get over 4,000 XP from it. This was also the first task where I tried out my Masterwork armor. It seemed to work pretty well, so I went with the Masterwork armor and Dragors for the Akron mammoths. And so from this task, we made 923k, and of course we got the Raptor Key Part 4. We also got 130,000 Slayer XP. Next, we ended up getting a Living Wyvern task, so I was really hoping for one of these. We're going to be killing 51 of them, and this is actually one of my first times actually trying out this task. So let me tell you, the first time I hopped in here, it was extremely difficult. It didn't take too long to figure out the mechanics, I guess. But they actually don't seem too bad once you do get the hang of it. And I'd say after 10 kills, I was able to kill them pretty efficiently after that. So I did go with my Masterwork armor and also went dual wield melee. And I think this is the best way to go, since you do want them to attack you with melee so you can protect melee, because they can attack with range and magic, so you want to keep close to them so that they will only use melee. So looking at the loot, we made 2.5 mil from this task alone, and it only took 15 to 20 minutes. So you can see how much money you can make from this task. It really is crazy how much, and they do have some unique drops as well that would boost your GP per hour by a lot. I did decide to go ahead and buy the Reaper's Choice, and that's because some days I just don't get a Reaper task that I like, so having a chance to be able to pick my own assignment is really useful. And so after canceling a few tasks, I did get one where I got to pick one. I was feeling like going and doing some Vindicta, so that is what we went ahead and chose. We're going to be killing 9 Vindicta for my Reaper in this episode. So after 9 kills, we only made 550k. Definitely not really good for a boss. We end up getting a Vileplume task, and usually I go to the Luminous snagglers, but I am going to be switching it up. We're going to be going to the Liverworts now, and they do require 110 Slayer. They give over 3,000 XP per kill, so I think these are the ones we are going to be going to now. They only have one mechanic, and it's pretty easily dodged. You can use Anticipate right before they use it, and they'll shoot spores in the other direction of you. If you don't use Anticipate, then they will stun you, and they'll shoot the spores. And you can use Freedom to get out of it and run to the other side of the Liverwort to avoid it. But if not, you will take around 5,000 to 6,000 damage. Guys, on the last kill, we actually got the Blast Fusion Boots. I can't tell you how surprised I was to see this drop. It's 81 mil, and on the very last kill, I got it. I literally looked away, and then I looked back, and I got a Blast Fusion Boots drop. I've been going for this drop for so long. It is worth 81 mil, so I am so pleased that I actually got this. And so we're going to go into the price check for this task. We made 1.8 mil just off the common drops, and then with the Blast Fusion Boot drop, we are up to 82.5 mil. Literally crazy from one task. I think this drop is worth nearly 1/3 of our total loot tab altogether, so it is really incredible that we got it. Now moving on to the next task, we got 271 Abyssal Demons, so always a pretty standard task to get, pretty AFK one. The loot from this task was around 1.5 mil, so that was pretty good. It took about 10 minutes, maybe 15 to complete it, and we also got 90,000 Slayer XP, so pretty good for a pretty quick task. And that's what Abyssal Demons usually are. They're always a really great task to get. Now next we end up getting another Reaper task that we get to choose, and this time I decided to go with Araxi. There is our first kill. It was a little bit worse because I forgot the anti-poison, but let's go and collect our loot. Guys, I was so shocked when I saw the spider leg come in. Literally crazy. We got 449k and the spider leg, which is sort of worth 40 mil. Just look at this again. We didn't actually get the spider leg at first, and then like a second in to the loot interface, the spider leg ends up popping up. I did slow down this clip just so you guys could see it, but it was pretty interesting to see that. I didn't think I had it at first, but there it is. So since we have the spider leg top, I'm going to be going to do the path 2 now and try and get a different spider leg. We didn't get it this time, only 80k, so I'm just going to re-roll it and hope for a pet because I actually haven't gotten a pet yet. Anyway, just wasted away that kill. We'll go on to the next one. And we got a 1.4 mil, so this was a pretty good drop. The Cernic Scales is a pretty solid drop to get. Anyway, for the last Rax kill, we got a 170k drop. Overall, around 2 mil from Araxi, plus that spider leg, which is essentially 1/3 of 130 mil. So that was pretty lucky that we got that. Look at that, we made 104.3 mil. That is by far the highest we have made in an episode so far. We also got 851,000 Slayer XP. And for the totals, we are up to over 400 mil in the loot tab. And we also got over 16 million Slayer XP. So starting off with our first Slayer task, we ended up getting a Celestial Dragon Slayer task. Guess what? I ended up getting another one from this task. So that is the 5th one from this task, I believe. I think we have 6 in the loot tab so far, which is really crazy. So the loot obtained from this task, we got around 2.6 mil. Now moving on to the next task, we got a Vileplume task. I really love getting these tasks, and I'm going to be going back to the Liverworts. And if you guys didn't check out last episode, you definitely should, because I ended up getting Blast Fusion Boots here at Liverworts, which are worth 81 mil. So this is my first time back after getting the Blast Fusion Boots. And hopefully we get lucky like that again, because that drop was literally worth so much
so much more than anything else in my loot tab. So it was really nice to get. So unfortunately we didn't get the Blast Diffusion boots this time, but we did get some alright loot, 1.4 mil, and then also pretty good Slayer XP. We got 247,000 Slayer XP. Now the next task we got, I got 78 dinosaurs. And so halfway through the task, we ended up leveling up. We are now 113 Slayer. So this is technically halfway there, guys. We are halfway to 120 in terms of XP. And so the loot from this task was really good. We got 3.8 mil and then also 241,000 Slayer XP. And that is the main reason why I like doing this task. Now moving on to our Reaper. As I said, whenever I get the Reaper choice rewards, I am going to be going with Araxi now since we have one leg piece. So we're going to go for the other two so we can complete that. The leg piece that we did get is from the minion path. So in this kill, I am going to be doing the darkness path, and then I'm also going to do path 2 since I find that is probably the easiest with the darkness path open. So anyway, from this kill, we ended up getting 3.3 mil. We got the Onyx drops, which is always a really great drop to get. For the second kill, we went with the path 2. We got a really crap drop, 69k. And then the next drop, we ended up getting 244k. We got a Trisk piece, so that's kind of nice. And the final kill, we got another Trisk piece and 774k. So that is a nice drop as well. I think that actually completes another Trisk piece. So that's 3 now that we can open. Probably going to open them when I finish the series. First task was a dinosaur task, and I ended up getting 101 of these. Now, I actually tried a different method. So usually I will use the safe spot using ranged, but this time I used the cannon method. And you guys probably saw this if you saw my loot from 500 Brutish dinosaurs video. This is actually a better way to do it. I think I'm going to be using the cannon from now on when killing Brutish dinosaurs. Now, from this task, I actually did complete it when the tomb shroom spores were super high. They were listed at 100k each. Now, they are only 50k right now because they have decreased a lot since I completed this task. But as you can see, we made 9 mil, and even with the tomb shroom spores being decreased to 50k, I'm still going to make around 6 mil. So this was a really good task, and it took around 1 hour to complete. Also, we got over 300,000 Slayer XP. Now, for this next task, we got a Crystal Shapeshifter task. This is one that I actually have been going for. I do like this task, although they are pretty tedious to kill if you don't have them in your player-owned Slayer dungeon, which is why I have been collecting their souls over the past few tasks. And I actually ended up getting enough to actually put them into the player-owned Slayer dungeon while completing this task. Whenever I get this task from now on, I'll be doing it in my player-owned Slayer dungeon, and it will be pretty quick, and I'll also make lots of money and lots of GP per hour. Anyway, after completing this task, I made around 2.4 mil and also got around 300 of the crystals. The crystals can actually be sold for around 1.5 to 2k each, so that is some extra money that you can take into account. Also, I got 185,000 Slayer XP, and the task took around 30 to 45 minutes to complete. It was a little bit longer because they weren't in my player-owned Slayer dungeon at the start of the task, but from now on, these tasks should go pretty quick. Now for the next task, we got a corrupted creature task. I'm going to be killing 248 of them. I actually didn't need to use the vampirism scrimshaw at all this time. It was pretty easy to actually AFK them without that. So that is nice because I'm saving a lot of money by not using the vampirism scrimshaw. So anyway, for this task, we actually didn't get any keys to the crossing, and we only made around 1.6 mil, which is pretty unlucky for 248 of them. We did get 161,000 Slayer XP, however, so that is pretty decent. And so next we got a living wyvern task. We're going to be killing 54 of these. We made around 3.6 mil. This is a lot for 20 minutes of work. And as I have said in some previous videos, this is well over 10 mil per hour, especially when you factor in their unique drops like the wyvern crossbow and the cursed Amescut sand. And so since it is double XP weekend, I wanted to kick it off with gaining a ton of Slayer XP. So I have been saving up these large skill training dummy crates and also some mediums as well. And I'm going to be converting them all into the Slayer skill training dummy. This is going to give me a ton of Slayer XP, and we're actually going to be able to make it to 114 Slayer using all of these dummies. So that is going to be really great. And so here we are, we only have a few dummies left. It is about 1 hour later,
and we finally get the 114 Slayer. We have gained 1.9 million Slayer XP from these Slayer dummies. So that is a whopping amount of Slayer XP, and it took a little bit over an hour to get this. And so moving on to the second task of the episode, we got a Dragon Cluster task. So I have been waiting to get this task for a long time, because going and doing this task at Elite Dungeon 2, you get insane XP per hour. So I went with my friend KJ, and we did a few runs of ED2 to complete this task, and it was amazing, especially on Double XP weekend. It was actually my first time completing ED2. I did it on the story mode once for a quest, but this was my first time actually going and doing the dungeon, and let me tell you, it turned out really well. On my very first kill, I got a codex, so that was really insane. I was really shocked when I got it. I didn't even say anything. I just didn't even know what was happening, was not expecting it at all. So we got the Greater Fury Codex, and this is worth around 30 mil, so this was a very nice drop to add to the loot tab. So while going through this dungeon, we made sure to kill as many dragon mobs as possible, because the XP I was getting here was insane, especially with the gemstone dragons. So I was killing Dragonstone, Hydrix, and Onyx dragons, and these were getting me a ton of XP. The Hydrix dragons alone on Double XP weekend were getting me 34k XP. Literally insane. And then of course we were killing a ton of the bosses, and they were giving me around 50k XP per kill, so this was an amazing task overall. We ended up completing the dungeon 3 separate times. So here is the loot we got from the 3 Elite Dungeon 2 runs. It took around 2 to 3 hours to complete all of these runs, especially since it was my first time. I was kind of learning all of them. As you can see, we made about 35 mil in the boss drops, including that 31 mil codex. As you can see from the chest, we really didn't make that much money, 3.3 mil. But the big thing for this task, 1.5 million Slayer XP. And so moving on, we got another Crystal Shapeshifter task. This time we're going to be killing 149 of them. So being able to put them in your player-owned Slayer dungeon and having them bunched up so you can AoE damage them, it makes the task a lot easier. And so the loot from this task was a bit better. We made 2.4 mil along with 323 crystals. And then we also got 378,000 Slayer XP. So we're going to complete one last task for this video. We ended up getting a dinosaur task. I did, however, decide not to do the cannoning method, which is the best way to kill brutish dinosaurs. You can kill about 120 of them per hour. Instead, I decided to do the safe spot ranged method, which only get around 70 kills per hour. So this task is going to take a little bit over 1 hour to complete, but it is a little bit more AFK. So I was able to get some other things done while I was completing this task. We made a little bit over 5 mil. We also got 545,000 Slayer XP. So that is the main reason why I wanted to do this task over Double XP weekend. We got a ton of Slayer XP, and looking at the total Slayer XP now, we're a little bit over 61 million, approaching 62 million. And we're 1.7 million XP off from 115 Slayer, where I will unlock the ability to kill the Magister. So moving on to another task, we got 74 dinosaurs. So I am pretty happy about this task because they do give a ton of Slayer XP. And so actually while completing this task, I ended up getting 115 Slayer. And looking at the total loot, as you can see, we made around 9.4 mil. The Dragon Egg taking up most of the money there, so that was a pretty clutch drop. And then we also got 229,000 Slayer XP. Now moving on to the next Slayer task, we ended up getting another Corrupted Creature task. Now while we were completing this task, we got a super rare drop. We got a Kopesh drop. This is the first one of this series, and we've been doing a lot of Corrupted Creatures. So that is going to be really sick just to add to the loot tab. And so looking at the loot we got, so along with that Kopesh, we got 2 keys to the crossing. As for the loot chest, we made 1.7 mil nearly, and also 100,000 Slayer XP. Moving on to our next task, we ended up getting a Cluster Dragon task. This is a really rare task that I don't get often. And last time I did it, I went to Elite Dungeons 2 and we got so much XP. So that is what we did again. And shout out to KJ for going with me. It was pretty great. We went duo for about an hour, which just about completed my entire task. So actually, before getting to the last boss, you kill the Onyx dragons and the Hydrix dragons.
These give so much XP. As you saw, that XP drop was 81,000. So I'm getting about 40,000 Slayer XP per kill on each of these dragons up here, which is just insane. This is why this task is about 1 mil XP per hour. Now, looking at the loot from the chest, we did get a lot of loot. Now, before I entered the dungeon, it was worth around 3.7 mil, so we only made around 2.8 mil for this run, which still is really great. It only took about an hour to complete, and as you can see, the Slayer XP I tracked was 1.05 million Slayer XP in 1 hour of work, so that was insane. Definitely probably the best task that you can get. This actually reaches our estimated loot tab at 600.5 million GP. That is really high, but of course it is an estimate, so I'm really excited to see if my items have went up or down when I do sell them all. So that is going to be pretty cool.
Now we are going to jump into our next task. We end up getting 82 Ripper Demons. This is actually a new task. My first time doing this, I took it off my block list because I remember when I first tried it, I just hated Ripper Demons. But they are really great money, especially now with the binding contracts. So as you can see in my inventory, I do have 50 binding contracts that I got from a Tetra Compass reward. So we are going to turn those into the Ripper Demon binding contracts. They're worth around 140k each right now. So you can see we're going to make a lot of money. So as you can see, we ended up making around 9.6 mil, 7 mil coming from the Ripper Demon binding contracts. So if you do have a Ripper Demon task, make sure you have those binding contracts because you're just going to make a ton of money from them. The binding contracts, they only cost around 40k to make too. So I'm going to make some more. And next time we get a Ripper Demon task, I'm definitely going to make sure I have enough to fill the whole task. And the next task we ended up getting was a Dragon Cluster task. This was super lucky because I was planning on doing Elite Dungeons 2 anyway with my friend KJ. So I was super lucky to get the Dragon Cluster task. I am adding this to my preferred list because it is insane XP per hour. And also I get to do a little bit of bossing as well, which is pretty nice change of pace from always doing Slayer. So as I said, we ended up doing Elite Dungeons 2. My friend KJ and I duoed it, and it took around 3 runs to complete this task. We ended up getting 142 dragons, so it was a pretty long task, but I really do love Elite Dungeons. Still pretty new at it, but it is getting a lot easier, and I am enjoying it so much. And as I said, we ended up completing it 3 times, so we did get some pretty decent loot. Unfortunately, we didn't get a unique drop, but we did make some pretty good money and also got tons of Slayer XP. Now moving on to our next task, we ended up getting the option between Lost Grove creatures or a demon task. It took me a while to decide, but I realized demon task is a really good task. It's a cluster task, and I get the option between Abyssal demons, Ripper demons. I could even do Kril. So there are a lot of good options, and I even decided to remove Vileblooms from the prefer list and add demons to it. I do want to do a lot more Ripper demons in the future, so that is now on the preferred list. I'm really going to like that a lot. But rather than doing Ripper demons for this task, I decided to do some more bossing. We ended up going to Kril. I have been doing a lot of Kril lately. But anyway, the task went pretty quick, around half an hour at Kril. I stayed for the full hour just to see what I would get. Unfortunately, no uniques, so that was kind of unlucky. But we ended up making around 3 mil. You can see that the Wine of Zamorak, that's very consistent money, and I really do like that because if you don't get a unique, you still make some good money. We're going to just jump right into a Reaper task. I got to choose, so I went with an Araxi task. We are going to be killing 4 of these. I do have 1 leg piece on the series so far, so again, it would be pretty awesome if I could complete that. So looking at the loot from the first kill, we ended up getting an Onyx Bolt drop. Pretty good drop here, worth a little bit over 2 mil. So these are always great with Araxi. Now my second kill, we done with ranged. We made 192k, so a really bad drop there. Didn't get the Cerebrews, which are worth quite a bit of money. Next drop, we ended up getting 885k, got some herbs and the Cerebrews, so that is a pretty good drop right there. The fourth kill, we didn't get very lucky, only 300k, but we made right around 3.6 mil from these 4 Araxi kills. Now moving on to our next task, we ended up getting a demon task, so 145 of these. This task is on my preferred list, so we should be getting quite a few of these. Now for the demon task, I decided to go do Ripper Demons. I had quite a few binding contracts just in my bank ready for this. You make a ton of money if you are making Ripper Demon binding contracts. They sell for a little bit over 100k each, and it only costs about 50k to make the binding contract. And as you can see, we ended up making 17 mil off of this task. 13.7 mil coming straight from the Ripper Demon pouches, and I didn't even have a full 145 to make. I only had 125, so we could have made a little bit more money there. But anyway, 17 mil, it's really insane. We also got around 400,000 Slayer XP, which is really great also, and the task took right around 1 hour to complete. This is honestly an insane moneymaker right now, especially if you are on task. Now, as you can see, for the next task, we end up getting another demon task. We're getting a lot of these so far. I also didn't have the binding contracts ready, so we are going to be going back to Kril. Hopefully we get another unique drop. As you can see, we did end up getting an effigy drop, which is alright, a little bit of free XP. But we did reach another milestone on this task. We ended up reaching 117 Slayer, so we are now only 3 levels away from reaching 120 Slayer. And as you can see from this demon task, we ended up making around 1.3 mil, which is pretty decent considering we didn't get a unique drop. We also got around 100,000 Slayer XP again. And moving on to this next task, we ended up getting a Soul Devourer task. This time I am going to be switching it up, and we are going to be fighting the Crocodile Axe. These are a higher level Slayer creature, and they also do hit a lot harder, so we are definitely going to be needing the Vampirism Scrimshaw. And as you can see, the loot we got from this task, we ended up getting 3 keys, and the keys, they are really pricey right now, over 500k. I remember earlier in the series, these keys were worth around 300k, so the loot tab there definitely has increased a good amount. We also got a Corrupted Gem, which is a very rare drop. Unfortunately, it's only worth 100k, but at least it does count for the drop log. And looking at the loot chest, we only got 1.3 mil here, didn't get any Vital Spark drops, which is really unlucky. Also 176,000 Slayer XP for a 30-minute Slayer task. We ended up getting another Nihil task. This time we're going to be killing 54 of them, and I decided to go ahead and do it. I kind of did want to skip it because the Slayer XP is so little, but the GP per hour on this task is just so great that I just couldn't pass it up. And as you can see, we actually made more money this time. We got around 5.7 mil. We also did stay for around an extra 5 minutes just because my overload was still active. But we did get really lucky again on the Nihil pouches. We made a ton of them. As you can see, 19 in total. And most of the money obviously coming off of that. Really great money here. This task took around 15 to 20 minutes to complete, so over 10 mil per hour at Nihils at this moment. And looking at the loot tab, it is looking just amazing. As you can see, we have so many items in here now. The estimated price of all of these items, including my 156 mil cash stack, is 674.2 mil for the entire series. Now do keep in mind that I was keeping track of this as I got the drop, so it is going to be really interesting to see at the end of the series if these items did go up in price or down. Now moving on to the next task, we ended up getting a quick Abyssal Demon task. We're going to be killing 238 of these. Always love getting Abyssal Demons because they're just so fast and pretty easy to kill. Now during this task, we ended up getting another super rare drop. We got Krabby the Slayer pet. I was really so pleased that we ended up getting this pet. This is a pet that I've wanted for a really long time. We're at 78 million Slayer XP and we finally get it. So I'm super happy about that. We're going to be using that as the cosmetic override for a while now. I'm super happy that I got this pet. It was definitely the one that I probably wanted the most. Now looking at our next task, we end up getting a Vileplume task. It has been a while since I had one of these tasks. I kind of stopped doing them because I just hated Liverworts. And since I hated Liverworts so much, we're going to go back to the Luminous snagglers. These are the first Vileplume creature that I started killing. They don't give as much Slayer XP, but I do find the drops are much better, especially with their Spirit Weed drop. This drop is, you get about 2 or 3 of them, and the Spirit Weed is worth over 100k each. And of course, they do have the Blast Diffusion drop. My luck just continued in this episode. We ended up getting our second pair of Blast Diffusion boots. They're worth 100 mil now, which is crazy. This really is such a huge drop to add to the loot tab. Now looking at the total loot from this task, we got about 6.9 mil from the common drops, and then we also got the blast diffusion boots, so that's another 100 mil. We got 106.8 mil, really crazy task. And the task took around 45 minutes to complete. It made over 100 mil. Just gotta love Luminous snagglers. Some really great unique drops throughout this series, and it's just going to continue. We have about 25 million XP to go for 120 Slayer. Now at this point, I decided to go ahead and get my Reaper, get some bossing done, because it's a bit more exciting than just constantly doing some Slayer tasks. So we are going to be doing an Araxi kill. We have 3 of them, and we're going to be doing bottom path, because we currently have the top path, the leg for that top path. So we're going to be trying and get the bottom leg piece. As you can see, the loot from this first kill, nothing too special, 374k. The overloads are pretty nice though. Our second kill, 430k, nothing really special there. And moving on to our third kill, we end up getting 25k. Really sad drop, but we did get 5 overloads, so that is worth something. Anyway, pretty solid Reaper. We made about 800k from the 3 kills, which is a bit low, but at least we did get about 7 overload flasks out of it. So that is something. And so moving on to another Slayer task, we end up getting a Ripper Demon task. We're going to be killing 62 of these. Now the good thing about this task, I actually had a ton of binding contracts already. I think I made about 250 of them. So we do have a lot just ready for the Ripper Demon tasks, because you make a ton of money if you are making the Ripper Demon binding contracts. If you have this task, you really need to bring binding contracts. You get about 80k profit per kill just per binding contract, so it's really crazy. As you can see, the loot though, 7.6 mil, most of that money coming off the Ripper Demon binding contracts, 6.2 mil there. Really, this isn't a great task if you don't have those binding contracts. If you do have them, you're really making bank. And so we end up getting another pretty sweaty task following our kind of relaxing task. We got 68 Ripper Demons again. And so looking at the loot breakdown, we made a ton of cash, 9 mil from this task, obviously most of it coming off the Ripper Demon binding contracts, 185,000 Slayer XP as well, so a really great task. This one took another half an hour, maybe 35-40 minutes, because it was a few more Ripper Demons than before, but it was really great. We made a ton of money off this task. You can see that this task is well over 10 mil, maybe even 15 mil per hour. Which is just insane. And so moving on to our final task, we end up getting a Dragon Cluster task, probably my favorite task, because we get to go do Elite Dungeons 2. Elite Dungeons 2 really is amazing. So we end up getting a trio, me and 2 of my friends from my Discord server were able to go. So I had about 13 mil going into this Slayer task, went up to 23 mil, so we had 10 mil off the Elite Dungeons 2. And 500,000 Slayer XP. We also did a little bit of QBD. This is just a highlight of the biggest drop I got there. 1.3 mil. We made about 2 or 3 mil off QBD as well. And then we just finished the dragon task with some celestial dragons, just because I only had a few left and I didn't really have it in me to do another Elite Dungeon 2 run. And so the estimated loot for the entire loot tab is worth 920 mil. So we start today's episode off with a Reaper task. We ended up getting 7 Vindicta. I actually did really good. Got a new personal best when I was killing Vindicta. This time I was using the Berserker Aura, as well as my Noxious Scythe, which does have some good perks on it. And I haven't been to Vindicta in a while, so the personal best did go down quite a bit. And we did even get it down to around 1:20, which I think is pretty decent. Any video in particular? Oh my goodness, we got a drop. Was not expecting that. And so as you guys can see, we ended up getting a drop on stream, which was super exciting. We ended up getting a Crest of Zeros, and it is one of my first solo drops that I did get at Vindicta, which is super awesome. I do have a kill count of around 500 kills. So I would definitely say that I was due for a drop. Overall, super exciting that I ended up getting one, and that's a good 35 mil added to the loot tab. Now moving on to our next task, we ended up getting 100 dinosaurs. Now usually I would go to Brutish dinosaurs, but I had a lot of people on stream mention that Venomous dinosaurs were an excellent spot to go to to kill dinosaurs, so I went ahead and did that. I also had a bunch of people in my last video commenting saying that this is an excellent dinosaur task, and I gotta say it really was amazing. As you can see, I just placed my cannon down so it made all of the venomous dinosaurs aggressive to me, and sitting in this spot, it really works super well. I could use all my AoE abilities and I wouldn't get hit super hard, so this is definitely what I will be doing from now on. It really is so much better than the Brutish dinosaur task. You don't get as much XP per kill, but the XP per hour is definitely higher because you can kill these venomous dinosaurs so much faster. So looking at the loot from this task, we ended up making 2.2 mil, which is pretty decent, and 133,000 Slayer XP. This was really good though because it only took around 15 to 20 minutes, which is so much faster than the Brutish dinosaur tasks. Usually those would take me nearly an hour to complete. So this was a much better task to complete. I'm definitely really happy that I decided to switch to the venomous dinosaurs. Now moving on to our next Slayer task, we ended up getting 92 Nihils. I decided to go ahead and complete this just because Nihils are really good money. The Slayer XP is pretty low, but the money is just fantastic. You can make the Nihil pouches and they're priced at over 200k each right now. That is really insane because every time you get one of the Avianchi Talons, if you're killing these smoked Nihils, that's 200k right there. So this is a really, really good task to complete. And so looking at the loot from this task, just from the normal drops, we made 2.2 mil, which is really good. This task took around half an hour to complete, so that is really good for the normal drops because then you also got the Nihil pouches to add onto it, and we made 4 mil in the Shadow Nihil pouches. Really, really good right there. As you can see, we made about 6 mil in about half an hour of work. We did spend about 1 mil on the Elder Energy, however. So do take that into account. And we also got 52,000 Slayer XP. Overall, really good task in terms of GP, but the Slayer XP, of course, is a bit low. And so to cap off today's video, I decided to go ahead and get another Reaper. We got a Blackstone Dragon task. As you see, our chest is about 26.4 mil going into it. As you can see, our valuation on our chest is about 37 mil. So we made about 11 mil from this. It was really lucky. We actually did complete a third run as well, but we did get a really lucky with Draconic Energy after I killed one of the Blackstone Dragons. I ended up getting 10 of them in one drop, so that is where most of the money did come from right there. Overall, really good GP per hour from this Reaper task, and I gotta say, I really am enjoying Elite Dungeons 2. As you can see, we made about 82.2 mil in today's episode, and we finally cracked the 1 billion mark for the loot tab. We're priced at 1,002 million, which is just over 1 billion GP. And so we finally ended up getting a Dragon Slayer task. I actually skipped a lot of tasks in hope of getting this Dragon task. I really wanted it all double XP weekend because you make so much money as well as so much Slayer XP from this task. So looking at our Slayer chest, starting off, we have about 36 mil in it. So just to keep track of how much I did make from this task. Now, I did go a lot of trips of Elite Dungeons. I believe I did 5 or 6 of them. Now, the first few trips, it was with David Wang and Mark Vang. They were pretty successful trips. We got some really nice kill times, and we didn't really get any unique drops, but of course, the uniques are always decent, and the Slayer XP is insane, especially with the Onyx and Hydrix dragons, all the gemstone dragons at the final part before you get to the final boss. It is insane XP if you do kill those. If you are on task and you do kill a Hydrix Dragon, the XP drop is something like 70k, which is just insane. So really, I just love doing Elite Dungeons on double XP weekend. You not only get the Slayer XP if you're on task, you get Dungeoneering XP and all the combat XP. It's just a ton of XP in general, which is just amazing. But for the last run, I ended up going trio with both KJ and Mr. Cape. So that was a ton of fun. We actually got really lucky. Mr. Cape got a Greater Barge Codex, so we got a pretty good split from that. Pretty lucky that we did get it on trio as well, so that was really crazy odds. But as you can see, just from the treasure chest, we made about 17 mil just off of the common drops and whatnot. And the Slayer XP always is insane. 1.8 mil just from one Slayer task. So really, you just always want to get these Dragon Slayer tasks while on double XP. As you can see, the split from the Greater Barge Codex, 67 mil split. really great there, nice to add to the Slayer loot tab. After this task, I decided to go ahead and complete a quest. This is the Children of Ma quest. Now I'm completing this because it will unlock the nightmare creatures, so I will be able to do those for a Slayer task, which is going to be really awesome. They provide really good drops, including Nightmare Gauntlet drop, so hopefully I do end up getting one of those tasks soon, and we can get some new drops. The XP is also pretty good at Nightmare creatures as well. So it should be a pretty good task overall, and I'm really pleased that I did complete the quest. It didn't take too long. Was a Grandmaster quest, but overall it wasn't too bad. Now our next task is a Soul Devourer task. This is also a really great task. Keys to the Crossing are going through the roof right now, so we're going to really want to get a lot of Soul Devourer tasks and Corrupted Creature tasks. As you can see from this task, we end up getting 8 keys to the crossing, and they are priced at over 600k each right now, so that's 5 mil just in the keys to the crossing. Really awesome loot right there. We also got 2 mil from the chest. We got pretty lucky on the Vital Sparks, got 8 of them, so another 2 mil there. This is over 7 mil for this one Soul Devourer task. It took 20 minutes to complete. Like, it was really insane, and also got 116,000 Slayer XP. So we're going to be doing an Araxi Reaper. We got 4 of them to kill. I'm going to be using range. We also got a pretty lucky path today. We got the path 2 and 3 open. So looking at the loot from our first kill, we ended up getting about 500k. So not too bad there. The loot from our second kill, this kill went pretty well, and the loot was pretty great also. We got an Onyx drop, so that's over 5 mil right there. It's already worth it doing this Reaper task. And then you also get the Reaper points, which you can convert into the Hydrix, which is just more money. For our third kill, we didn't get too lucky, 160k. And the last kill, pretty decent, Serenic Scale drop, 1.3 mil there. Overall, made around 7 mil from this Rax Reaper, not including the Reaper points. We only need about 13 million Slayer XP left, and I have been putting bonus XP on it. We're also doing daily challenges and things like that. So we are gaining a little bit more Slayer XP than is actually listed, but for the total on the 120 Slayer series, the loot tab is estimated at about 1,159 million coins, which is just fantastic. We also got about 46 million Slayer XP on the series, and that is not including bonus XP or the daily challenges or things like that. So we're going to start today's episode off with a bang. We're going to be doing a Reaper task, and I actually got a Telos task. So I only have 1 Telos kill up until now. We are going to be taking him on 4 times. I am pretty decent at Telos, I would say, even though I have only got 1 kill. I also was on some pretty low enrages, right around 10 to 30% enrage, so it wasn't too difficult at all. I really do like Telos. I find the mechanics are pretty fun. I definitely do need to practice a lot more. As you can see, I was really low on food for my first attempt, which is something that I will definitely need to work on, especially if I'm going to want to push 100% enrage where there's that 5th phase. And so we ended up taking out Telos with just a few food left, so we did end up getting the kill at least. Now let's see what we can get for our loot. And so we ended up getting some Dragon Arrow tips. We were 1 off a Dormant Zeros Godsword there, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, we're at 17% right now. We're going to probably push the enrage a little bit more and risk those rewards. I ended up getting my second kill pretty easily. As you can see, I have a lot more food than before. As for the reward, we ended up getting some Black Dragon Hide. Solid drop there. We're up over 1 mil now in the total loot. And for kill number 3, we ended up getting some Uncut Dragonstones. Again, 1 off a Dormant Serengabo. I ended up claiming the loot just because I didn't want to risk it. I ended up getting the last kill pretty easily as well. As you can see, I have a ton of food, so I'm getting a bit better at Telos. That is officially my 5th kill. Probably should have been pushing the enrages and risking the loot. But we are just going to claim this loot just because it's for the Slayer loot tab, and we'll move on to our first Slayer task. Now moving on to our next Slayer task, we end up getting a Crystal Shapeshifters task. This task is on my preferred list, and it is one of my favorites, which is why it is in my player-owned Slayer dungeon. As for the loot, as you can see, we made around 1.8, 1.9 mil just off the regular drops. We also got 300 Tardian crystals. They are listed at around 3,000 GP each, once you do exchange them. So that is another 900k there. Overall, about 2.7 mil from this task, 145,000 Slayer XP. Now I went ahead and picked up another Reaper task. We ended up getting an Araxi task. This time only 3 of them, so this is going to be a pretty quick one, but it is just worth it just for the Reaper points right now. I'm going to show you guys later. I actually spent a few in this episode. But the first Rax kill, we ended up getting about 660k. Most of that money coming off of the Ceradoming Brews. If you get those, basically your reward is pretty solid. As for our second kill, we actually ended up getting a new record, a new personal best when killing Raxi, which is pretty awesome. I'm using the Saren God Bow for the first time, so that definitely does help the times. And also I got 766k from this kill. So another pretty decent drop there. We're going to go ahead and kill our last one. So let's see what we can get. There we go, guys. We ended up getting another spider leg. This is actually our second one for the loot tab, so we're only one away from completing a spider leg, which will be a really awesome boost to our overall Slayer loot tab. So awesome drop there. I'm super happy that I ended up getting that one. The only spider leg piece that I have left is the middle part, so hopefully we are able to get that one soon. I also wanted to quickly show you guys what I got from my Reaper points. So I bought 2 incomplete Hydrixes, which are 300 Reaper points each. I'm selling them for around 56 mil. They haven't quite sold, so I might drop them a little bit. But overall, it is an easy 55 mil just for 300 Reaper points. And so taking a look at our total XP for Slayer, as you can see, we only need 11.2 million XP left to get to 120. I am pouring some bonus XP into this skill, and also we're completing the daily challenges. So I'm getting a little bit more XP than the XP I am showing you guys just from the tasks. So do keep that in mind. We are going a little bit faster than just the XP I show. Now our next task was a nightmare creature task. This is a really exciting task because I haven't actually had it before. I recently unlocked it just a few episodes ago by completing the Children of Ma quest. Nightmares are a really, really great Slayer creature. They give a ton of Slayer XP, especially on double XP. It's just insane. Their base XP is 1,540, and then the GP you do make from these creatures are amazing. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to get the Nightmare Gauntlets in this task. However, we did get some pretty good loot. As you can see, about 4.3 mil from the Nightmare creatures. A lot of it coming off just random stackable items. So this is a really great task to have. We also got a nearly 400,000 Slayer XP. Again, it is on double XP, but still, that is really great. And it took about half an hour to complete this task, and it was semi-AFK. We end up hitting 119 Slayer, so again, we are only one level away from reaching 120 Slayer, which is our ultimate goal right now. Now our next task that we ended up getting was a Dragons task. I was super hyped to get this task because, as you guys know, if you watched a few of my other episodes, I love this task. It is my favorite task. I went duo with KJ. We did quite a few runs of ED2. I believe we did about 5 runs in the span of about 2 to 3 hours. And so anyway, looking at the total loot, I started at about 60 million in this chest. So we made about 15 million over these 5 runs. Also got 2.6 million Slayer XP in total, which is absolutely insane for one Slayer task. That is why I love doing this task so much. It's just so much XP. And as you can see, we're a little bit under 5 million XP away from reaching 120 Slayer. Now moving on to our next task, I got a Demon Cluster task. I went to Kril this time, and we actually managed to get a drop. As you can see, we got a Garb of Subjugation. And surprisingly, this is actually worth about 5 mil. So that is a really good drop right there. And so looking at the loot from this trip of Kril, it was actually pretty good, nearly 6.5 mil, and we got that 5 mil Garb drop. So even without that, you make 1.5 mil from this task, which is really good. And we also got about 150,000 Slayer XP, so pretty good task. Now the next task I got was 157 Nightmares. And Nightmares is a creature that I only recently unlocked, and it really is an excellent task. You get a ton of Slayer XP from these creatures, and the GP is insane as well. Now, the only thing I did notice from the Nightmares is that they do hit really hard, especially if you get 2 or 3 of them on you at a time. You need to use deflect missiles because their special attack is a ranged base attack. So essentially you will be protecting yourself from that attack, but they do attack in melee, so you'll be taking a lot of damage. As you can see, we made 4.1 mil from this task, and the XP is nearly 500,000, so that is really insane, and it definitely makes this task worth it. As you can see, we are just under 1 million Slayer XP until 120 Slayer now, so we are getting really close. Our next task was also a Soul Devourer task, so we're going to be completing this one pretty fast as well. And as I said, I always do love getting these tasks. As for the treasure chest, we got about 1.4 mil, and also the Slayer XP, about 168,000 Slayer XP. So we're only about 800,000 Slayer XP until 120 now. Now our next task was a Crystal Shapeshifter task. This is an excellent task, especially if you do have Crystal Shapeshifters in your player-owned Slayer dungeon. The XP per hour is actually really high, especially on double XP, of course. I'm going to get around 300,000 XP just from this task, and then the GP is usually around 2.5 mil for a task, so it's not too bad either. As you can see, looking at the loot from this task, we got about 1.7 mil, but we also got over 300 of the Tardian crystals, also 310,000 Slayer XP. So again, this is an excellent task for the Slayer XP. We are now down to 118,000 Slayer XP to go until 120 Slayer. So this Crystal Shapeshifters task is going to be our last task of the series of the road to 120 Slayer. So again, we are headed back to the player-owned Slayer dungeon, and it is a countdown to 120 Slayer, and we're not even halfway through this task, so we won't need too many kills to get through it. And here we go, we are 1 kill away from 120 Slayer. And there it is, 120 Slayer. The series is complete. After over 1 year of doing this series and 33 episodes, we have finally maxed out our Slayer skill at 120. Now it's time to go get that beautiful cape. I also got a ton of congratulatory messages from my clanmates and some friends. So again, shout out to all of you guys for supporting me in this series, and all of you viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for watching this long series, 33 episodes, and I've finally completed it. It has been a really long journey, and it has been a ton of fun. And so anyway, now we got the Slayer cape. Look at that, it just looks fantastic. It's actually my favorite cape in the game for sure. It's one I've always wanted and took me over a year to get, so I really do love this cape and probably will use a keepsake key on it. The Master Slayer cape also gives you about a 20% chance to pick your own Slayer task, so that is going to be super useful when doing a future series. I'll be able to pick some Dragon Slayer tasks. I'm going to do ED2 or whatever, so that is going to be a really useful perk. Now also, I did actually finish the last Crystal Shapeshifters task, and if you guys were curious into the loot, we made about 1.7 mil from that, nearly 300 Tardian crystals again, and about 340,000 Slayer XP for that task. Now looking at the total loot tab before I go and break down each item, this episode we made about 33 million, so the estimated loot tab is priced at about 1.26 billion. So now I'm just going to go ahead and collect all of the loot. I had a little bit of alchemables in the alch machine, as well as my elite dungeon chest. It is completely full with about 75 million of loot. That is basically just from my Dragon Slayer tasks that I have obtained throughout this series. And so now we're going to be moving on to the price check. So I am going to be price checking each item that I have in my Slayer loot tab, as well as my 290 million cash stack that I got from just Slayer. As you can see, the first inventory, it's priced at 395 million. Most of the money coming just from the cash stack, which includes all of my coin drops, alchemable drops, as well as a few rare drops. Now the second inventory is a lot lower. We made about 42 million from this inventory. Basically just contains a lot of dragon items, some logs, and various other materials that I did get from Slayer. We also got about 3.6 thousand Tardian crystals, which are untradeable, but they are worth about 10.7 mil once I do trade them in. Now the third inventory, this one is worth 88 mil. We got a few raw materials as well as all my stone spirits. Got a few potions and some things like that. Also got some seeds in here as well. So overall, that one's a pretty good price check at 88 million. And inventory number 4 is about 73 million almost. So again, got some more raw materials as well as the rest of my seeds. And then we also got the Royal Dragon Hide and the Black Dragon Hide in here as well, which is priced at quite a bit. Now moving on to our next inventory, this one is worth nearly 56 million. Just some more random items, a lot of sort of arrows and bolt tips, things like that. Just some random items here. As you can see, the Onyx bolt tips, that's probably the highest priced item in this at about 14.4 million. So another pretty good inventory there. Now the following inventory is also really great. This one's priced really high at 257 million. Most of the money coming from the Vital Sparks as well as my Keys to the Crossing. They're in this inventory as well. Just got some other random drops. Elder Energy priced at 3 mil. Got some Ascension keys and all my bones. My bones are worth a lot. I got Wyvern bones, 22 mil there, 23 mil in Dinosaur bones. Even the Searing Ashes, 34 mil there. Draconic Energy is in this loot as well, and that's priced at a little bit over 22 mil. So overall, really good price check from this inventory. Now moving on to this final inventory and this final price check. This one is the most exciting. It includes all of my unique and rare drops that I have obtained throughout the series. So as you can imagine, it is going to be priced pretty high. As you can see, 397 million. We got Laceration boots, 2 Blast Diffusion boots, which are 76 mil right now. I definitely got them when they were 100 mil, I believe, so those went down quite a bit. But 2 Cinderbane gloves, those were about 30 mil when I got them, I believe, so those went up. We also got a bunch of other random drops, 6 Draconic visages, which is pretty interesting. Aside from this, we got a Codex from ED2, we got a Zeros crest from Vindicta. So those are all the other pretty high priced items. As you can see, we also got 2 spider leg pieces, so these are untradeable, valued at about 80 mil for the 2 pieces. And so looking at the total loot from my loot tab, the tradable items, it's a little bit over 1.3 billion. So it's a bit higher than I estimated. I estimated 1.265 billion. So it is about 35 million higher than I expected. And I did include the Tardian crystals in that estimate. However, I didn't include the spider leg. So with the Tardian crystals and the spider leg, that's another 94 million for the total loot being about 1.4 billion for 120 Slayer. So after taking a few days of selling all of the loot from my 120 Slayer series, I ended up getting nearly 1.3 billion. We officially made 1,292 million coins. And then we also got the untradables as well. We got 2 spider leg pieces throughout our Reaper tasks, as well as a bunch of Raptor keys that I wasn't able to complete. Now, interestingly enough, we actually made about 30 mil extra just based on keeping the loot over that amount of time where I completed this series. It took me over a year to complete this series, so it is kind of interesting to see that the prices are continually going up over time. Now looking at the actual breakdown, so as you can see, the estimated prices from the price check was about 1,309 million, and we ended up selling all the loot for 1.292 billion. So we did lose roughly 17 million just from selling the items below their Grand Exchange listed price, which isn't really that bad. We also got the untradables though, which do equate to about 83 million just off the spider leg pieces. So you can count that in the loot if you want. However, we do need to get that last leg piece, of course, to complete the leg. So on my road to 120 Slayer, going from 107 to 120, we ended up completing 244 Slayer tasks. Now on the left you can see the list of all of the Slayer creatures that I killed, as well as the amount that I killed. In total I killed around 34,000 creatures in total, which is quite a bit, most of them being corrupted creatures. I killed 6,273 of those. I also killed 4,700 soul devourers, over 3,000 abyssal demons. As you can see, I killed a lot of creatures. And then I also listed the Reaper tasks as well. I didn't really do too many Reaper tasks since I was focused on the Slayer XP primarily, but you can see that I did kill 58 Araxor, which I did get pretty lucky getting 2 leg pieces in that amount of KC. We also did some necks, we did Vindicta, QBD, ED2, a lot of ED2 with my dragon cluster tasks. So all those dragon cluster tasks are basically ED2 runs where I did get a lot of loot. But overall, this was an excellent journey. I enjoyed this so much, and I really hope all of you guys did as well. It was a ton of fun making each and every episode, and Slayer, it is my favorite skill in the game, so that is why I wanted to make a series revolving basically all around Slayer. And I really hope you guys did find it enjoyable. I'm really happy that I was able to complete this series because, again, it took me over a year. There definitely was times where I wasn't really motivated to do Slayer, but I kept with it slowly but surely, and I ended up getting 120 Slayer, which really is a lifelong goal. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting this year-long journey, and I hope to all see you in the next one. Peace.